Alright, so real quick, I'm going to do a video that talks about 9904 Mustang anti-theft, CCRM, and cluster deletes, as well as PCM deletes for the factory stuff. So if you remove the CCRM, which I had to do, and don't click off of the video because some of this has to do with the LS swap harness working with whatever you have going on here anyways. So everybody's going to get some kind of information for their setup. So CCRM had to be deleted because it goes right here, downpipe is going right there. Had to get rid of it. Now all I did was I just cut the wires. I don't know if you can see it. I just straight up just cut the damn wires out. Now the problem with doing that, CCRM has relays for the stock system, like the fan, the electric fan, the PCM. That's where it gets its power from. That's where the relay is at, and the fuel pump. Now all that is individually wired in already in my setup, so I don't need that. So by deleting the CCRM, you might as well delete the PCM, since the PCM is no longer getting power. Therefore, the anti-theft is going to act up anyways. The car will still crank if you have the stock cluster, but if you're doing a swap, you want better gauges anyways. So deleting the cluster will stop the car from actually cranking over. So you get rid of one, you're pretty much getting rid of all three. Now if you go to lt1swap.com and build your harness, like the one I got here, it ends up, for a carburetor anyways, it ends up just being these two for the individual coils, bank 1, bank 2. This is for the constant hots, and the orange and the pink wires for the PCM, and then this is my accessories right here. Now, if you followed that correctly, you'll notice that there's just one trigger wire. So one trigger wire, I had this hooked up over there, but some of the 12 volt keyed on lost power because of the CCRM getting lost. I had it hooked up over there, and I can't use it no more, so I'm gonna have to hook this up directly somewhere else. But just so you can see, fuel pump comes on, and that's it. I just need a trigger. The other issue is going to be finding a way for the key to run the starter, because with the cluster missing, it's not going to turn. But for some reason, even with the theft active, the key still works, the locks still work. So even if I had the stock cluster still in there, it would technically just flash theft. But we don't care about that. But here, just to show you, it's not gonna turn over. But everything still works. Windows still roll up. The lights still work. And the locks still work. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm still gonna put the cluster in. I can get rid of the PCM, or I might just leave it there. That's just extra work. It's under that kick panel over there. I'm still gonna leave that in there. But if you delete the CCRM, PCM is just not gonna get any power. And then if you have the cluster, then it's just not gonna crank because the cluster is tied into the key. So it's just a security measure that they had going on, but it's not gonna affect us, because once I put the cluster in, I'm gonna wire something that's always hot. Some of these wires in here are for like the fuel sender, the voltage for the cluster, for the factory one, turn signals and stuff like that. So I'll probably tie in the LS harness to that. And as far as the actual kicking on the ignition, I'll just take this apart, cut the wire that goes to the engine start, and directly wire it into the relay. And I'll show you right now what I'm talking about. Alright, so this is a relay. Number 4 on this car, 9904. It's gonna be this one. Right here, just pop it off. And I'll show you in a minute where that goes. But like I said, this one, if you got it done right, there will be one going out to both relays. One for the PCM power, one for the fuel pump. And it's basically your on and off, while one of them is constant, like for the PCM and the memory and whatever. So there's only one, which is this wire. And then all you need is that. So I'm going to show you real quick. Essentially what I want to do is it's constant, and this would be the trigger. As far as the key on, it would be one of these. So it's a relay, so it's not that hard to figure out which one, but from the key to where it actually is the crank forward, I'm going to tie it to one of these, and that'll give me my trigger, and it'll bypass all the security bullshit, essentially. So it is cold, so don't expect it to idle fine. And cold idle. Still running the tune for the naturally aspirated stuff. So that's it, pretty much. So hopefully that helps somebody out in case you're getting a new cluster. There's another way you can do this. You can pay to have the PCM reflashed to disable the PATS, and then it won't care if the CCRM is in there. Well, it will care because it's not going to get any power. So if you care about leaving the CCRM in there, or if you're using the stock relay, stock wiring, then you can. Last time I was quoted $150. Send in the PCM, get it reflashed, and that's that. But this is pretty much a free fix. So now I'm actually gonna run the wiring real quick, and then it should just start up with the key, and then I'll just drive this car to Mexico, and that'll be that. Alright, so this is your ignition switch. Now, different year Mustangs require different year wiring diagrams, so make sure you look up the one you need. Mine happens to be pink and white. Now, in stock form, they go from here, and they go to the clutch neutral safety switch, and then the PCM. Now, because we deleted the PCM and the CCRM, it's just not going to turn over. So, essentially, what a smart person would do is they would run this towards the clutch neutral safety switch, and then I myself ran it to the actual starter wire, the one that I probe with the power probe, and that's all you really need. But yeah, just wire it up to the clutch neutral safety switch or the clutch safety switch, and you'll have a regular starting car. Now this is going to be necessary if you're deleting the CCRM or the PCM or putting different gauges, because again the cluster's tied into the key, so it might just not turn over. Even though if I put the old cluster back on it, it would still be flashing theft, but it doesn't stop anything from working. The windows still work, the lights still work, everything still works, the radio works. So cheap and easy, quick and easy way if anybody needs to do this. So hopefully this helps.